지금 다운로드 받으세요.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second half of the SSL Season 2 Challenge Group C matches here with me, Valdez, and Artosis. How are you feeling after that break?
Full. I ate a really huge lunch that I brought with me.
Yeah.
I was really hungry, and I gobbled it down, and now my belly hurts, but I'll be fine. I'll make it through. How about you?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah?
I had my my Bacchus that I bring with me. It's this kind of like small little energy vitamin slash thingy drinky that I sometimes bring down to the cast, and it helps out with energy.
Yeah.
So going to be feeling good coming into these games, especially because, as I was telling you before, towards the end, it really becomes energized because certain players have to win certain maps to get in, and it becomes very important towards the end to see, who's going to get in, who's not going to get in. Unless we have it like the first day where it was like, well, we have 2 players in. As long as this one player doesn't lose, he should get in, and then he doesn't lose, and it's like, oh, okay, this is kind of the way we expected it to go.
Well, here is a summary right now for you guys of where everyone's standing up. aByun and aLive, neck and neck, but of course, away wins are tiebreakers, so you have to pay attention to that as well. Jokchi is, for all intents and purposes, not going to make it into the SSL, but, obviously there's a sliver of a chance for him still.
Yeah, he'd have to win all 5 games, and then he would have
also
to...
other things would
he needs someone else to go 5-5. Like Deer per se, and like Impact and Rogue to do really badly, so that he could tiebreak with Deer, and somehow, if he's got more away wins, or if they tie on away wins, there can go to a tiebreaker. So we saw him in the booth. He was having a really rough time after going 0-5. Obviously, not where you want to be.
No,
as any player.
I mean, he practices all day, every day, as hard as any of these guys, but it is not going well for him right now. He just dropped out of Code A. He's basically out of SSL at this point. I mean, I'm sure he'll try to fight on, but it's a tough thing for a pro gamer, man.
Yeah, especially when you're the only player down there in the depths, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you have Impact at 1-4 and something like this. He's sitting at 2-3, and he definitely has a chance to make it through as long as he has a better second half here.
Yeah. Okay, so going into this match, Impact versus aLive, this is a pretty important one. Because, aLive is out in front, but if aLive loses this, right, he's at 4-2, and it'll be a 3-3 for Impact. So that's a really big deal. It's Impact's home map. It's Frost. He's going to do better than he did on Ruins of Endion against aLive. That's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Winning that last one, you should be feeling decently good coming into the second half, whereas aLive, he did lose that last game against aByun in a TBT. Was pretty close. aByun with an uber aggressive style on Frozen Temple, so couldn't really handle it there on that map.
Yeah, it was pretty tough for him. I'm still holding out hope for Impact. It really feels like aLive and aByun are running away with it, but if he picks up a couple of wins in his next 2, he's right neck and neck with them. So I think this kid can do it. I think he's a future Zerg. This should be a good game on Frost.
Yeah, and every match matters coming up into the end here of the second half. So make sure you guys are paying attention. We'll give you updates on where everybody is situated as we get into these games. So let's jump into game number 16 now on Frost. Here we are on Frost, and down in the bottom right in the red, it is Impact, the future of Zerg, according to Artosis.
Oh, my.
He's got some decent classes, too. Down here in the bottom left, in the blue, the Terran player, it's aLive, currently in second place.
This win would put him in first place momentarily.
Yeah.
Did have it at the beginning of the day as well, just did end up losing one of those away games that he needed, but here we are, and on Frost, this is such a big map. I'm looking forward to hopefully a big macro game.
It's definitely a possibility here. We saw Beyond on this map when he went up against Rogue, actually just went, again, that kind of ultra-aggressive style where he started off with the double medevac Marine drop with an early stim and just used that to, snowball it into his favor. aLive, I feel like he's less prone to go for that kind of thing. I feel like he'll play the more standard macro game and maybe goes for some harassments, some Liberators in there, maybe even Widow Mines if he wants to get tricky. But I think what you're saying is it's definitely a decent chance that it comes true.
I'm kind of hoping, I feel like Impact, if he gets into any sort of an okay position, he has a very good understanding of how to utilize Zerg's tools to end up winning the game. Strategically, he moves around very well. I think tactically in engagements, he's fighting. That game on Frozen Temple against Beyond.
Yeah.
Beyond had a nice advantage for, basically the whole game, but he fought tooth and nail. Beyond had to really put his nose to the grindstone to end that.
Yeah, and it was really just Impact's movements with his army and the understanding of, how to deal with stuff like that. And even the run-bys, too. On a map like that, there's different pathways you can abuse, and he just kind of went around Beyond's army and forced him to respond to a bunch of the run-bys, which definitely took away some of the power from his pushes and kept him alive for a very long time. Another Zerg probably would have just fallen over and died by that time.
I think so. They would have overcommitted somewhere, and that would have been that. Well, here we have Impact going into the double speed, of course, so common right now for Zerg, both against Protoss and Terran. So that'll allow him to scout quite a bit. He's playing pretty safe as well, whereas aLive, is he going to go into Hellion Banshee? That was a very popular build on this map back in the day.
Well, no
Maybe
tech
not.
lab yet. Yeah, it looks like just straight up Hellions and Marines, perhaps some medevacs thrown in there for drops. And you could see, well, we do have a tech lab starting now, and it's not going to perfectly line up with the starport, but he will be able to eventually switch it out, and you may be right here.
Yeah, he might have just messed that up slightly on the timing to make it slightly slower than it could have been, but it did kind of look like this. So let's see here. I think he's swapping. I think it is going to be a Hellion Banshee.
I think we would have seen some kind of research coming in. Look at that scout.
Perfectly timed.
Flies right in. He's like, oh, okay. All right.
Well, do you make the Banshee now? If they see it coming, it is so much weaker.
Swap it out and
I like that choice.
Just go for something else. And even if he scouts it again, it's like, yeah, my gambit failed. Whatever. I mean, this is just normal now, It's not like he's seeing any... It's not like he swapped it into some new configuration that's like, oh my god, I'm so glad I got that scout. I mean, it's good that he knows that Banshees aren't coming, of course, but... I think this is better for aLive that he doesn't commit to it and he just goes into standard play from here.
Well, it doesn't look like aLive can really get anything done at the moment. He's making a Siege Tank and a Viking, two very defensive units. Of course, he can grab a medevac for the tank-evac type of play. Don't foresee that doing too much, maybe pushing some creep and whatnot, but he's letting Impact get into the situation that I think Impact is really striving for. And Impact is even getting quicker evolution chambers than we see eBays. So that's I feel like these things go towards Impact in a lot of ways. He's such a good macro player.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, aLive is no chump in the macro game as well. I feel like it's going to be a really nice macro game where I feel like aLive is better than Beyond in that kind of style. Just straight up macro, going for pushes, stuff like that. Whereas, Impact has, no disadvantage in this game. So it's going to be a pretty even matchup in my mind coming into this one. Impact off to a decent start. I'm kind of worried about that fourth base because generally you want to take it to the north, but it's very far away from your third for the Zerg, so it's very easily harassable, even though it is far away from the Terran as well. You can boost from the Terran's third base if he decides to take it up there to the north of the natural and get to the fourth base in a decent time. You can even run by Hellions like this. So,
if he does take the fourth down to the bottom, it's such an easy push distance for Terran. So that is a really tough thing for Impact to decide.
Yeah. Generally, we see the Zergs just take this one to the north and, get control of the watchtowers and try to have map control, so it makes it harder. So that, the Terran has to go all the way around the top watchtower to get a drop in there. Otherwise, the Zerg's going to have some lings ready for the defense.
Very late +1 missile. I have a feeling that he probably queued it up after Carapace. That happens sometimes when you're clicking really quickly, and then it starts now. It like doesn't really make sense. So that kind of sucks for him because he was going to be ahead on both upgrades. Now he's behind on one. So a little bit unfortunate, but probably not going to cost him the game. Good creep spread going on, and aLive just kind of powering up how he wants to.
He's going to begin to put on some harass here once that stim does finish up. And let's see what kind of damage he can do. You can see this Viking has done a nice job. This is the Pult Viking, I suppose you could call it, where you just clear up all the overlords and you allow yourself an opportunity to drop. But look at this, Impact's already ready.
Yeah, he's already got quite a few units over here and does force that back. The Queen's targeting medevacs the entire time. Very well done. In fact, another Queen comes with the flank and doesn't quite get that medevac. Good try, though.
You can see Impact, he's moving to take this fourth base here to the left of his main, so he wants to keep everything controlled and just centered around this middle area instead of spreading himself out too much. And as you were saying, that that could be a nice drop position for aLive. He could just push into that simply if he takes the fourth base, where Impact is taking his fourth base. So
yeah, I think that would probably be a really good move for him overall, but we have a lot of roaches on the way right now, so should have a little bit of a stronger army just in this kind of mid-game for Impact. aLive, though, he's kind of doing everything right. He's not overextending everywhere. He's trying to get a little bit of damage, but Impact's defense has been very good with the Queen so far, but he's really macroing up heavily and keeping on top of his upgrades.
It's kind of aLive style, just find damage where you can, but just have some really solid macro, make sure everything's hitting its timings. It looks like he was a little bit late on the armory, but that's just me being like a little bit picky, Doesn't really matter all too much. He's going to be ahead of Impact on upgrades regardless, so nice drop going into the fourth base, though.
Look at, by the way, how many Ravagers are being made. Wow, they did do a lot of damage to that fourth. That is a lot of Ravagers. It looks like Ravager Ling at the moment with some roaches sprinkled in. Oh my god, so many corrosive vials go down. That's insanity.
He's eating it too. He's not even kiting out of it. And you can see his army has definitely been chunked down. Taking a look at how many tanks he has. He only has 3, and they're not in position to defend this third base, so he has to lift here.
Losing quite a bit of SCVs at his third as it flies away. Some micro being done as the Siege Shanks get those pot shots. He does have to pick them up and run them away as well. Meantime, a drop goes down in Impact's main, but he cleans it up with some roaches.
Marine's still on the chase. They have to be very careful. That's a lot of units. And he needs to get that third base down to ASAP as Impact secures his fourth. He hasn't really started mining from it, though. He's sitting on 60 drones only, so it's not super low economy, but it's low economy for 4 bases. He's not trying to saturate that immediately, and he definitely wants to put on that pressure, and so far it's been successful.
It certainly has. He has quite a few roaches here as well. The amount of Ravagers he's making is almost startling to me. I've never seen anyone actually make this many Ravagers, just because you have to have something tanking in front of them. Like they blow up. They're very expensive units, so you have to be careful with them. But we'll see how it works out for him.
Nice targeting on the medevac, even though he is losing a couple of queens, and in fact it does survive. But it was a nice try. Generally, you want to try to focus that down so you can shut down the drop and clean it all up.
We do have a lot of creep tumors being taken out here by aLive. He's about 50 supply down right now, which is a bit rough. Nice surround there with Ling Ravager.
Yeah, and this is interesting because generally you can't catch the medevacs, but you can get in front of them if you do something like this. Jump on it and you're close to your opponent's base. And here we go, the Ling's running in. The Liberator's not going to help out either, dying to the corrosive vials.
Wow, this is really cool. We haven't seen Ling Ravager in a long time, but he does stem forward here, dealing a lot of damage to those Ravagers, picking off quite a few. But the rest of the army comes back and starts dealing some significant damage here to aLive.
I don't think aLive can hold this. He's down to 91 supply. He's going to lose his third base. At the very least, he has to lift that. And 20 more roaches on the way. Impact, I think he's just hit this pressure that he put on the third base earlier, just really put a bit of a damper on aLive's macro, and now he can just run with it from here.
This is really cool watching. It's a style that we never see in this matchup, and he's don't forget, aLive smacked Dark down in Pro League. Really outplayed him straight up. So the fact that we see aLive bringing out a new type of strategy, and he's only on 3 base versus 3 base, and he's crushing aLive with it. Like, aLive is way behind, guys. He's got half
That's
the
his
supply.
army. That's his army right there. The bio and the 2 tanks, that's his army.
Wow. Well, Ravager Ling, it's I'm very excited to see more Impact games today. And Valdez, I am just feeling like I am so smart to have called this guy as coming out of this group.
Well, he's looking good so far. He's going to take this one against aLive, that's for sure. Not much he can do in terms of micro. GG! Impact taking the win.
Wow, wow, wow. So well done.
What a boss, man.
Yeah, and that brings him to 3-3. So,
he
let's
is
see.
totally in
that
this
was
one.
That was a home map.
Yeah.
And that was a loss for aLive. So he's 4-2 against the 3-3 of Impact. Deer right now 3-2. This is it's getting even rather quickly.
Yeah, that it is. Right from the get-go, game number 16, we're already seeing the stats kind of equalize here. And it makes sense. I mean, aLive won on his home map against Impact, and Impact won on his home map against aLive. So that's kind of what we expect.
Yeah,
you know? Unless there's like a big discrepancy in terms of skill.
Yeah, for more equal players, that is basically, that's why it makes like away versus home an interesting situation, because it's like, okay,